What is up, everybody? It is me, the Anthony Side Tano here, and today, we're reviewing a new released album. I think it's only the second time I've released a brand new album review on the day of the release. Actually, the only time I did it on the day of the release, I believe the 1975 review was a couple of days afterward, and I want to review the new Juice WRLD album. And needless to say, Jared Higgins, more known as Juice WRLD, the rapper, superstar, very big amongst my age group, was released an album today. And there was a lot of hype surrounding this album from the fan base. And rightfully so. The man was extremely talented at what he did. The trap sound that he was a part of, the kind of sad, SoundCloud, emo rap inspired trap sound, is just something I'd never been able to get into. I've never liked trap in general. But Juice WRLD was always different. He always struck me as being a lot more talented than many other of his contemporaries. Especially when I heard the song All Girls Are the Same, which really connected with me, and it remains to be one of my favorite songs. It's very good. And this new album, I was excited for it. I wanted to listen to it. And to be quite honest, it is exceptionally excellent, especially for a posthumous release. As someone who doesn't like the trap sound very much, I've been very exposed to it. I've heard most of it because, like I said, it's very popular amongst my age group. So I hear it at homecoming dances, and I hear it at friends' house, and I hear it on the radio and in public. So I hear it all the time. And like I said, I'm not a fan of it. But Legends Never Die is a breath of fresh air in the trap scene. It stands out so much compared to so many of his contemporaries, lyrically and musically. Lyrically and thematically, there are pretty much two different subjects this album mostly handles. The first one being substance abuse, and it paints drug use in a very, very poor light, which is something I feel like a lot of trap doesn't do. So much of it seems to glorify drug use and make drug use seem like it's a great thing, party, drugs, oh yeah. And that's something that is kind of really bad about my generation, is a lot of us use drugs and use these things as, just always abusing these substances. And it's terrible for us, but so many of us don't care. And Juice comes out on this album and perceives it as being this terrible thing, because it really is. And it's chilling when you hear him describe his problems with substance abuse, especially when you know that's how he died. It was an overdose. Now, this is done very excellently, and gone very much into depth on the track Bad Energy, where Juice goes into detail about drug use and the fact that he's using it as a crutch to deal with his emotions and his negative feelings, and how his obsession with drugs is what he's using to get through it. And it gets to the point where it becomes extremely bad for him and extremely toxic, where he can't handle his emotions without these drugs, and it's very chilling. Especially knowing that he ended up dying of an overdose. Lyrics like "drain out the bad energy, forget the bad memories," are just heartbreaking, knowing what happened, and knowing that he needed these drugs as a crutch. But it's very poignant and poetic in a way, hearing this, especially after his death, and it's one of the highlights of the album. Bad Energy is a great track. The other subject matter that is tackled a lot on this album is the idea that even though he has a lot of money and notoriety and celebrity, that doesn't fix his problems. The money doesn't make him happy or live necessarily a better life. And once again, that is a breath of fresh air in the trap scene, because so much of it is just filled with substanceless flexing. Oh, look at my watch, I got Benjamins in the bank, and Juice comes out on this album and talks about, yeah, sure, money is great, but all the money in the world can't make me happy. And that's very, very just unique, and like I said, a breath of fresh air for this particular scene in hip-hop. and I'm honestly here for it. I think it's a very good theme throughout the entirety of the album. And as I mentioned earlier, the production and musicality of a lot of these songs are also a breath of fresh air in the trap scene. It's very focused on these kind of light guitars, and it makes it stand out so much compared to so many other trap songs. And modern hip-hop in general, because it seems like they're afraid of organic instrumentation. So hearing these guitars and stuff is really nice on these tracks. And I think it makes it stand out against all the other hip-hop and stuff coming out in modern day to be something a little more interesting. And I'm here for it. I think it works throughout just about the entirety of the album, except for maybe once or twice. But it mostly works very well. Now, I do really think this album is great. It's very unique, and like I said, it's a breath of fresh air, but it is not without its issues. It does suffer from the album bomb trope that so many hip-hop albums do. They put so many tracks on one album, so when they put it on Spotify, everyone listens to them all at once, and that makes them a lot of money, and makes them go up the charts really fast. But this album is 50 minutes long and 21 tracks. That's pretty long, and to be honest, even though I enjoy a lot of the production and the themes, it starts to get a little repetitive because it doesn't often change. So by the time you're 21 tracks in, it just starts to get a little repetitive, especially on the last, quarter of the album. Not to say any of these tracks are bad, because I like all but two, which we'll get to, but it is not perfect. Like I said, it does get a little repetitive by the end. But I think most of the time, this album is pretty great. Now, because this album is so long, and I pretty much covered a lot of what I had to say in that little opening section about the lyricism and the themes and the sound, I'm not going to go over every track by track on this album like I typically do. I would just be repeating myself like a broken record a lot. But I am going to hit some of the tracks I think are... I have more to say about, and that includes my two favorites, which are probably tied at the moment. The first one being Come and Go, which was produced by Marshmello, and usually I think Marshmello is pretty garbage. I think he makes bland electro-pop and EDM for the radio, but this song is really great. It's so engaging, especially when the electric guitars kick in. The energy is crazy, and then the beat drop is absolutely orgasmic on this song. It's so fun to dance to and listen to. I think this song is excellent. It's just overall really great. It just builds in the beginning. It starts off very, very slow and kind of quiet, and then percussion kicks in, and then the guitars kick in, and then that beat, it drops, and it drops hard, and it's so good. I really do love this song. If you check out any song on this album, it should be this one, and I think it has the potential to be a really big hit, too. When I listened to this album this morning, it was #1 on trending on YouTube, and that's unsurprising. I really hope this song gets big, because it's something I would love to hear at a homecoming or at a prom, because it's just that much fun to listen to and dance to. Despite being pretty, sad, Juice is typically not a happy artist, but it just sounds really good, and it's very energetic. My other favorite track on the album is the absolutely chilling and just telling song, Wishing Well. This song's beautiful, in a depressing kind of way. This song is about Juice repressing all of these sad thoughts and emotions. He says on it stuff like he doesn't want this person to know how he's feeling because he doesn't want them to be upset. And that's something I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. I know I can. I tend to repress my feelings a lot of times. I know a lot of teenagers do, and I know a lot of people do in general. That's just kind of the world we live in. And on this, Juice describes how he feels like there's an anvil on his shoulders, and that, he can't breathe because of it, and that he holds all the stuff inside. On the chorus, pre-chorus, he says, "This is the part where I tell you I'm fine, but I'm lying. I just don't want you to worry. this is the part where I take all my feelings and hide them because I don't want nobody to hurt me. That is extremely poignant and poetic, and even just sadder because we know what happens to him. And this song, because we know about his death, and because it's posthumous, becomes 1,000 times more chilling than it ever would be. And his performance is so emotional. You can hear the pain and sadness in his voice, and it hurts. It hits you hard when you listen to it, and it's extremely depressing, but in the most beautiful way possible. And it's the peak of human emotion is what this song is. It is emotion, just musicalified. I don't know. It's emotion in its pure form transformed into music, and that is something amazing. And later on, he mentions that he keeps taking the pills, he wouldn't be here, but he needs them, and that is so. Once again, I hate to use the word chilling over and over again, but it's extremely chilling. Because, like I said, he died because of an overdose, but he needed these drugs because of how much he would repress his feelings, and because of this depression and anxiety that was weighing on his chest, that this is something he needed, and it turned into a crutch for him, and something that would break him if he stopped doing it. And it's... life imitates art. That's all I can say, and it's chilling. But that, mixed with the emotional performance he gives, is something absolutely beautiful. So it's tied with Come and Go for my favorite track on this album. Titanic is another really great song, too. Not as good as the last two I mentioned, but it's very solid. It opens up very interestingly with this dark bass and these kind of dark synths and electronics as well. It almost reminds me of a goth song of the early 80s, something like off of Joy Division's Unknown Pleasures or The Cure's 17 Seconds. And it's very interesting for a hip-hop song. And I kind of wish it would keep this vibe throughout the entirety of the song. It breaks into your typical, traps and 808 beats, and hi-hats and stuff, but it's still fine. And then it goes back to that on the closing moments of the song. But I wish it kept that kind of goth vibe all the way through. Regardless, it's a very good song. It's got a lot of good imagery, like him describing the midnight air, and also the references to the Titanic sinking, and how, sometimes your emotions and stuff, you can feel like a sinking ship with anxiety. And it's a pretty good song. Like I said, it provokes a lot of imagery and thought, and I like the kind of goth influences on it. I already mentioned Bad Energy was a pretty solid track, and then Righteous, once again, is another really good track. Righteous, yeah, sorry, I keep being, distracted. This is the last time I record in the middle of the day, because I don't get any privacy in this house. Anyway, back to the tracks. Righteous was the first song I heard on this album. It was sent to me by a friend who said, hey, you should check this out. And I really like it. I think, the guitar line's cool. Like it as a lot of the album. And I think Juice's performance is, once again, very emotional. It's very soft and kind of sad, and it really gives you those vibes, And overall, it's just a really good song. I'm glad this was the first song I heard off of the album, because it made me excited. It got the hype up, because I did really enjoy it. Other songs in the album I enjoy. Fighting Demons is good. It has a really great piano-based hook, or a piano-based beat that I really vibe with. I think it's really pretty. And once again, talking about Juice's anxiety and paranoia and stuff, especially with fame, and the fact that even though he has all this money and fame, he still has these demons that he's having trouble fighting off, and all the stuff that he still has trouble with in his life. And the other track I want to talk about is Tell Me You Love Me, which apparently a lot of fans don't like very much. I think it's extremely messy, but I don't mind it. I actually quite enjoy it. I like the swing guitar line that plays throughout the entire song, and the ending where the orchestra swells to a crescendo. I think is absolutely beautiful. It comes out of nowhere, but it's very pretty and a very good moment on the album. Now, just because I didn't mention a track doesn't mean I didn't like it. I probably did. It's just that, like I said, I summed up most of it at the beginning of the video of how I felt about the majority of the album as a whole. There are a couple other tracks, though, I would like to mention real quick. Hate the Other Side is the other one produced by Marshmello. It's not as good as Come and Go, but it's pretty solid. I like the fact that there are features on it like Polo G that kind of keeps the album feeling a little fresh and not as repetitive. The same can be said by Life's a Mess, with Halsey coming in kind of giving the song kind of a more pop vibe, which I'm fine with. Once again, it keeps things a little fresh, because, like I said, the album does start to get a little repetitive after a bit. And the closing track, Man of the Year, that's not interlude, the actual, like, track, sounds like a 2013 indie rock song, like something the Neon Trees would have made. But a solid one at that. I do rather enjoy it. Now, like I said, this album isn't perfect. It gets a little repetitive, it's a little too long, and not every track is a hit. Blood on My Jeans is pretty bad, I'm gonna be honest. Not only is the production bad, the acoustic guitars on it sound super jank. I'm just not into it. And the 808s that are booming sound like garbage. They sound like something you'd make ironically for like a meme. They sound like a 2016 bass boosted dank meme, something you'd hear on Vine. And that's not a good thing when you're making like a serious, unironic song. And also the lyrics are bad. The whole thing about if you feel on my dick, there's a gun maybe a little higher. What's that supposed to mean? I don't know, but it's stupid. And I do not like this song. And the other song I don't like is Up, Up, and Away. It sounds like a Febreze commercial. It's super cheesy, super corny production-wise. I'm not into it. I'm sorry. If you like it, I'm glad. But, overall, I do really like this album. Like I said, it feels like a breath of fresh air in the trap scene, and it's something I'm definitely going to come back to throughout the year, and probably in the future, too. This is definitely in my top 5 favorite albums of the year. Very solid stuff. So, Legends Never Die by Juice WRLD, I'm feeling an 8 out of 10 on it. So yeah, that's it. That's my review. I think it was pretty short. I'm not sure. I had to do a little bit of editing because people can't leave me alone. But anyway, there you go. I'll probably review Bring Me the Horizon's Amo next because I have a lot to say about that garbage album. And yeah, I'll see you all next time.